One of the most dangerous things you can say after a round of golf is, oh, I played like shit, which is something I see all the time. I see it less as a professional, but I used to see it all the time. Every time somebody would shoot a round that they didn't consider to be their best, they would just say, oh, I played like shit, and move on. You learn so much from bad rounds of golf that to just say, oh, I played like shit, is doing yourself a massive disservice. So what we're going to do here today is go through all the mistakes that I made in the Nevada Open over the last 2 days, categorize them as physical or mental errors, and write down what we learned and what we should do in the future. All right, let's start from the top, shall we? Second hole of the day, day one, hole 2. On a 200-yard par 3, I aimed right at the flag, hit a slight push cut, wound up in a bunker that was harder than concrete. Impossible to get up and down, made bogey. Now, the problem wasn't that I didn't get up and down from the bunker because the bunker was legitimately harder than this table. The problem instead was going for that flag in the first place when I had all kinds of room out to the left. So I would classify that as a mental error, not allowing for proper percentages. If you're a great ball striker, you can play to 5%. Average tour ball strikers can play to about 7%. Any tour player who is worth his salt should almost never miss outside of 10%. I had about 5 yards off the side of the green towards that bunker. From 200 yards, a 5% margin of error is 10 yards. I should be aiming at least 5 yards left of that flag. Can't have that kind of stuff, especially when you can hit a tour average shot and still make bogey. It's just something that should never happen. So there's one lost shot there. Number 12, I had a lost ball where I legitimately thought the ball was going to be in the fairway. I'm not going to call that a mental error or a physical error. That's just got to be bad luck, which I guess would be the third category, just catching bad breaks. But it is important to see where your shots lie, because if you consider yourself to be catching bad breaks to the tune of 12 to 15 shots around, you're probably putting a little bit too much weight into the bad breaks category. So keep your eye on that. Lost ball, there's 2 shots there. Number 15, day 1. And this is when the mistakes start to really kind of pile up. Number 15, day 1. Had 145 yards into a par 5 and went for a flag on super firm greens that I really should not have gone for. Now, it's a slight physical error, but the shot I hit was within the percentages of a tour pro. So I don't consider that to be a purely physical error. I tugged my shot just a little bit when I had room short and right of the flag to where I could leave myself an easy eagle putt. Instead, I tried to stuff it for eagle and ended up walking away with a par because I put myself in a pretty tough spot for an up and down. I don't consider that to be a short game error. I more consider that to be a problem with decision making off the fairway from 145 yards out. So we're going to call that a mental error to the tune of 1 full shot. Didn't play to the fat side of the green. It was a pin that was 2 yards off the back of the green. Like, there's no reason to be going for that, especially when the greens are super firm. It slopes away from you and the grass is really thick on that side of the hole. Number 16, I'm pin high just right of the green on this par 4. It's 365-yard par 4. I went for the green. I'm pin high just right. Really simple pitch up towards the hole. Missed it up and down. We're going to call that a half shot. I was about 35 yards away from the hole. You know, you shouldn't expect to make those every time, but you should expect to make about half of them, and I didn't really even sniff it. I'm going to call that a half shot. I'm going to call that a physical error, short game, half shot. 17, same thing. Another 365-yard par 4. I was pin high, just left, made par. I'm going to call that another missed half shot. And then number 1, this was the granddaddy of them all. This was the ultimate mega fuck up for the day. Had 160 yards into a par 5, 160 yards in the right rough. Caught a flyer out of the rough because I tried to hit it too hard and tried to hit all the way to the flag, which was in the middle of the green. I should have been aiming towards the front edge. Leave myself, if anything, like if I'm going to miss, I want it to be an up and down from short of the green. Instead, I went for the flag, landed on the back edge, kicked over the green, hit the cart path, and went down a 60-yard hill of dirt, sand, and weeds in the desert. Ended up making double because, things snowballed from there. I ended up chunking the first shot because it was a bad lie, sculled the second shot from down there because it was an even worse lie, plugged in the lip of a bunker 35 yards out, Had to hack it out of that, and ended up getting up and down from 40 yards for double bogey out of a bunker. All from 160 yards hitting into a par 5. There's a couple errors here. There's a physical error, but it was mainly a mental error. What I should have done in that situation, any pro golfer worth his salt from that situation makes a 4. I made a 7. 160 yards out, made a 3-shot error by trying to go long of the green, or trying to go for the flag and ended up going long of the green. 3-shot error right there. Now in that round, not including the 2-shot bad break, that is a 6-shot swing of mental and physical errors. 1 shot physical, 5 shots mental. So, shot 70 with 6 shots of errors, 2 shots of bad break. We won't even talk about the bad break because that's golf. That's what happens. That round should have at the very worst been 67 or 66, and I walked away with 70. So that's disappointing. But what should we have done differently? What did we learn? Play for percentages more. That side of the green is always a good place to be. It's not crunchy enough. I got to think of a better way to word that. It's too many words. How can I say play for percentages and the fat side of the green is always a good place to be? Trust your skills. That's really it. Trust your skills. My skills are that I'm always going to be within 10%. Going for a flag where I have to hit a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5% shot is not trusting my skills. That's thinking I have to force something. Trust the 7 to 10%. If I do that on the back 9 in the first round, I'm 7-8 under easy. Trust your skills. Trust the 7 to 10%. That'll be what we learned from round 1. Now round 2, this one was a doozy. Birdied my first 2 holes, good. Par 5 and a reachable par 4, birdied both of them. My first error of the day came on the 5th hole. Hole number 6 is a par 5, and this was a 100% physical error. Snap hook out of bounds. And boy, was this one out of bounds. 2 shots. Made birdie on my second ball, walked away with bogey. That put me at 1 under through 5 holes. Physical error, snap hook out of bounds, that's 2 shots. Next 5 holes, I made par. Didn't make any really errors. I mean, I hit a lot of lips. Left myself a lot of birdie putts, hit a lot of lips on those holes. And sometimes that just happens. I'm not gonna, that's golf. I'm not gonna credit anything to physical or mental errors there. Just none of the putts fell. I hit a lot of putts that probably could have fallen, but just didn't. Number 11, a par 5. I had 200 yards, but I was in the rough. And the reason I was in the rough is because I was hitting driver up into an area that was bottlenecked. I had a really interesting discussion about this last night with one of my buddies out here on tour, a new friend, Max. I was hitting driver into an area that was statistically too narrow for me to be trying to hit driver into. While I've been hitting my driver really well and I felt good about putting it into that position, or I was risking putting myself in the rough, I was risking hitting it in the water right, I was risking overcompensating and hitting it left out of bounds. I could have hit a way more comfortable shot with a 3-wood and left myself 215 yards. Now, I know a lot of people think about, and this is kind of what the discussion was last night, this is what he told me. A lot of people consider length to mean just bombing it off the tee and then putting it close, which is true for the most part. But there are situations where your length, if you are a long hitter, it is arguable that it's more important to leave yourself a makeable, like a good second shot into the green, because that's where you really have the advantage. If I'm hitting 5-iron from 230, and the guys I'm playing against are hitting hybrid from 230, I'm going to be a lot more consistent with that 5-iron. So giving myself that opportunity and knowing I'm going to give myself that opportunity by hitting something less off the tee is just as valuable as bombing driver out there and risking putting myself in a bad position just to have 9-iron in. Now, if there's no problems up there, if there's no problems up where if it doesn't tighten up there where the 9-iron's an option, obviously that's the decision. But in this situation, I had a tree to contend with, and on the other side of the fairway, I had big old lake that I couldn't really hit a ball out of. So in that situation, it's not a mental error because I wasn't really thinking about it that way, but it is a different way to consider playing holes like that, where even though I can squeeze driver up into that bottleneck, laying back to 210 is not a bad play. Laying back to 210, having a 6-iron into the green is not a bad play. I ended up making par from 200 yards, which is the only reason I'm thinking about it. There's an old saying in pro golf, if you'd have pulled it off, you wouldn't be talking about it. And I didn't pull it off. I had 200 yards out of the rough and thought I was going to catch a flyer and didn't. Came up short, ended up making par on an easy par 5, which really did cost me a shot. It's just a different way to think about it. But that par did cost me a shot. That 520-yard hole, that is not a par 5. I should be making a 4 there. So there's a shot lost there. And then on the 12th hole, made a physical error, put it in the right bunker. Put it in the right bunker off the tee. There's a fairway bunker off the tee that I hit it into. I was off a draw lie in the bunker. Hit a draw into the green side bunker on a downslope with the green running away from me. Hit a really good bunker shot to 6 feet, and then missed that putt. Now, I think a lot of players at home are gonna hear that description of the hole and think, oh, well, you should have made the 6 foot or you should have made par. The problem started off the tee. The problem starts when I hit a 2-iron into a fairway bunker and leave myself 170 yards off a draw lie into a green that slopes from right to left. That was where the error started. The error started when I had a draw lie fairway bunker shot hitting a blind shot over trees to a pin where I wasn't really confident in the yardage. That's where the errors happened. It wasn't from missing the up and down from the impossible lie in the greenside bunker. It was from the tee shot. That was a physical error. That cost me probably a half shot hitting that flare. Physical error, that's a half a shot. So far we have had a shot left cost us 2 shots, and we have had a shot right cost us 2 shots. Now 15, this is the one that's going to keep me up at night, folks. Par 5, and like we were just talking about, if there's nothing up farther, if it doesn't bottleneck in, if it doesn't become more difficult to hit driver into a farther area, do it. And that's what I did. This is a 565 yard par 5 uphill. I obliterated a drive down the right side of the fairway, caught a good kick, left myself 220 yards. 200 yards to clear the front lip of the bunker, downwind. So I'm thinking 7-iron, just want to clear the front lip of the bunker, get myself on the green. If it releases, cool. If not, whatever. I picked the right shot here. This was not a mental error. Hit a cold shank. And that's kind of the 7-iron, the cold shank is the only like real miss hit I hit all week. But it was it is concerning. It's something I'm going to need to figure out, because I've done it in a similar situation a couple times where I have a 7-iron into a par 5, staring down the hole like I know I should be having a really good opportunity to make birdie here, and I walk away with. In this case, I ended up walking away with a bogey because I took a drop and hit it on the green and 2-putted. So made 6. That cost me 2 shots right there. Another physical error. I'm sure there are people who would say, well, maybe you were nervous and that's why you hit a shank. I don't believe in that. I think the second I pull the club away, I don't have really control over it. I think I made a bad golf swing. I think there's something going on in my golf swing that caused that. It's one bad shot, so I'm going to choose to forget about it. I'm going to choose to forget about that one. Now you're going to hear that coming down the stretch, I hit even more like very bad golf shots. The physical errors started happening more frequently, but that one in particular cost me 2 shots in a very disappointing fashion. Physical error, shank 7, -2. Followed it up with a birdie, so that was cool. Hit an 8-iron to about 7 feet and made the putt on a par 3. And the hole after that, 17, I got 3 holes left to just shotgun start. I started on 2, so got 3 holes left playing 17. And I hit a firm snap hook, and then got a bad yardage and flew the green, took a drop, ended up making double. I mean, it was such a cacophony of errors, I don't even know how to classify it. The physical error, we'll start with that. Par 4, physical error, snap hook. We'll say that cost me a half shot. Bad yardage. I still had a shot at the green. It was a flyer lie. I GPS'd it at 170, but that was not even close to correct. Something was wrong there, because I hit that 9-iron, flew the green by like 15 yards, went into the hazard long, had to hack it out, tried to get up and down for bogey and failed to do so. So I don't even know where to start on that. That was just, it started with the tee shot. Tee shot was minus a half shot. Bad yardage was minus a shot. Failing to get up and down was minus a half shot, because it really wasn't an easy up and down. Like that up and down was like a 30%er at the most. 1 for a mental error, because I didn't put more effort into finding the yardage. I just trusted the GPS instead of checking it. 1 for physical error on that hole. Holy smokes. 18, hit a drive way right into the desert. That was minus half shot. Physical error. And then I missed an up and down from about 40 yards for par, so that was a minus a half shot. So those are both physical errors. That was it. That was all she wrote. So in round 1, I had 1 shot worth of physical errors. I had 5 shots of mental errors. and 2 shots of bad breaks. Round 2, I had 6 shots of physical errors, 1 shot of mental. I want to attribute the uptick in physical errors to being tired. And this is why we do this, because I start to realize things as I'm doing this. You start to realize things about the bigger picture as you get into the little nitty gritty and start to figure out this data. Round 1, I had 5 mental errors, 5 shots worth of mental errors, and 1 shot of physical errors, shot 70. And then 2 shots of bad breaks, which is just, that's golf. Round 2, I had 6 shots of physical errors, 1 shot of mental errors. Now here's what I'm starting to realize. Round 1, I made these mental errors because I go out thinking I gotta shoot 17 under. I got to shoot 17, 18 under and win this golf tournament. And I make mental mistakes because I'm getting too aggressive. In round 2, I start to get tired because I'm taking these crazy big swings. I'm trying to do all kinds of crazy stuff. And then I'm getting physically exhausted because I'm mentally running myself ragged by making all these bad decisions. So that's what we learned. I mean, we just, that's the diagnosis. That's what just happened right there. Oh, by the way, over 2 rounds, 7 shots of physical errors and 6 shots of mental errors, missed the cut by 2 shots. That is 13 shots of just absolute mind-bogglingly stupid bullshit. Missed the cut by 2 shots. That's why we do this. That's why we take the time to write everything down, because we start to realize things. Round 1, got too aggressive, made mental errors that nobody's game could back up. In other words, brain started writing checks that my body couldn't cash. Round 2, exhausted from huge golf swings and bad decisions. Physical errors started piling up. Now that we know that coming down the stretch, it's tough for me to finish because I'm either wearing myself out mentally, which is what I did in the first round, or I'm wearing myself out physically. One of those is gotta give. Now we gotta figure out a way to maximize those 2 things. The answer is unfortunately not just work harder. Now, as much as I would love to say, oh, I just need to be able to I just need to be better. I need to be able to work harder. I need to be able to outlast my opponents. That's not how this works. I practice a lot. Pretty much maxing myself out. I've got the pieces to put together to be a great player. I need to be able to maximize all of that for a span of 72 holes. And if I can't last 36 holes, I'm certainly not going to be able to last 72 holes. So what are we going to change? What's going to change in the future? Q School's coming up. This is important. We're going to start grooving a swing of 85%. Right now I swing right around 95% of my driver, and that's probably not a good thing. When we stack those percentages up and we get towards the end, that's when we start making mistakes. That's when we start making bad swings. Also, if we bring the speed down, misses will be tighter, and the frequency of the big miss will be a lot less frequent. So we're going to groove a swing of 85%. We are going to trust your game. We're not going to lose 3 shots trying to gain 1. That's just not a good way to play golf. That side of the green, give yourself a second shot. I mean, we're going to play to 7%. Now I'm gonna have to make a conversion chart and put it in my bag for what number most closely correlates to 7%. But we got to give ourselves 7% of space, 9%, and extreme hazard. Gonna keep working out. Gonna keep trying to be in the best shape I can because I like where we got to. We made some progress today. Woke up this morning kind of devastated because of all the mistakes I made this week. To go on to miss the cut by 1 felt really bad, but my game is in a great spot. Just needed to take all this data and break it down into a plan. We got all this data right here, broke it down into that plan, and that's what we do. That's how we make sure we're better the next time we go play golf. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That was just a little peek behind the curtain of like what goes into pro golf. I'll be honest, I haven't done this in a while. But like I said, one of the most dangerous things you can say at the end of a tournament is I played like shit. Figure out where your shots lie and make a plan based off of that. That's my piece of advice to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe, drop a like on the video, comment what you want to see next, and I will see you in the next one. Deuces.